The costume department has done an incredible job designing this suit from scratch. The first time I saw a glimpse in the monitor, after we had shot something, I saw a little bit of playback of the suit, of me in the suit on camera. I thought, yeah, that looks pretty freaking cool. And then just today when we did the publicity photo shoot, I think that was the first time that I said, like, oh, this is yeah, I mean, it's an iconic look. The first thing that Rachel brings to the character is the inquisitive, I mean, just the way she squints at you, even, and sort of pauses and gives you a chance, and you sort of know that she's listening to every word you say, which is great. And to start this movie with 2 solid days of 12 pages of dialogue back and forth with her, the scene we screen tested with, was a really great way to start, because it also established that the heart of the movie is in the characters and their relationships. And while there's going to be some banging action, the core of it is about people and their ideas and their ideals. I'm so grateful to have James as director. To have a director who is so known for spectacle, and for heart as well, but I think he has a great simplicity to the heart in his films. To realize that he also is interested in incredibly complex dialogue. There was nothing that was off the table. There was nothing that was not of interest to him. I think it should be a big summer. I think it's going to be a fun movie. I think the promotion of the film is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a great cast, love hanging out with each other, and are very excited about what we're making. I think we're making some really cool stuff that's going to be worth waiting for and worth getting hyped about and worth seeing on a big screen. James has a big imagination, and he needs a big canvas to paint on. I think he and Henry, our DP, really wanted to feel like you were present in this world and to really feel like you're up close and in there. I think you just want to be immersed in the experience. So you want that screen to reach from one end of your vision to the other. You don't want any distractions while you're watching this movie.
Lois Lane is a journalist who is a star reporter at the Daily Planet. And I love that she's relentless in her life. She's relentless about her pursuit of the truth. She's relentless about the things that she cares about. She's passionate. And I feel like it makes her aspirational. I'm inspired by her, somebody who goes after everything full freight and who will literally go to the ends of the earth for the things she believes in, sometimes literally. It was amazing in the moment. I was always aware of Lois Lane. I grew up on the Chris Reeve Superman with Margot Kidder, and I just thought she was amazing and so smart and funny and sharp, and it still kind of feels like a dream. I can't believe we're here embodying these iconic characters. And the response from the outside has been so amazing. It feels like it's multiplied the excitement just getting to talk to people on the outside about what these characters mean to them. I'll never forget when we were testing, right as I was leaving, I walked past this fitting room and David was trying on a version of the suit. We didn't know we had the job, and I just remember looking at him in the suit and being like, my God, he just is. He just is Superman, and he is Clark. There's an earnestness to both of them that feels really unique, and it's been awesome to watch him craft the two characters and craft that thing in the middle. James Gunn's set is infusing a movie with love and hope. He did a deep dive on all of us, and he brought together this group of people who are just excited to be here and happy to be here every day. And he loves these universes. He loves these characters, and that kind of energy comes from the top. And so it's just been a blast. We've had so much fun. He has a crystal clear vision for what he wants to do, but he's also really collaborative, and he's made space for us to play and find things and work together. And it's just been awesome. One of the things I love the most about Superman is that he believes in the power of people to be good. And I feel like he's curious about what it means to be human and wants to uplift the people around him and honor the people who raised him in Ma and Pa Kent. And so he's a superhero, but he's a superhero who's both invincible and also in search of his own humanity.
He represents everything that's good and hope. And for me, kind of, I guess he transports me back to being, a little kid. And that's what I feel being on these sets and seeing David in the costume. It kind of transports me into this kind of giddy childhood-like state. I think the thing that jumped out to me was that it was a James Gunn script and his style of writing. You can kind of instantly imagine what this film becomes. Having seen a lot of his work and loved it, reading the script, I was like, oh, fantastic. It's James Gunn's take on a Superman story and world, and all these exciting characters and ideas that he's focused in on from the comics. So that's what was thrilling about it. I love him as a character. I think, that was one of the things that I think James has really nailed in this script is Lex, is the bad guy for the story, but there's also a lot of things in his character and in his ideas and persona that maybe are right and aren't initially too crazier of an idea. So as misguided as he might be, his moral perspective and judgment off, he kind of believes in his soul that he's doing the best thing for humanity and he can protect them, and that these meta-humans are a threat to us all. And I think that place is quite a pure sense of where he's starting out from. Lex is already very heightened and aggressive and bitter and angry and all these things that kind of add up to him. Hopefully I didn't play it to like a caricature. We'll see. The engineer is someone that is an ex-special operative soldier who Lex has developed nanite technology, which is in her blood, so she can transform it into anything she can imagine. She's unstoppable. She marches through taking out robots and all this with ease, turning her hands into buzzsaws, and Gabby does an incredible job. She's been working so hard with the stunt team physically to prepare for all that, where she could do all these incredible moves and makes all the action that's happening physically so special. I've absolutely loved working with James because there's two brilliant things about him. It's his ability to know exactly what he wants and have a clear vision, and to know that that's going to work for what he's creating, but then also be very open to ideas and switching things up and trying things. So that, which is kind of the perfect thing as an actor, because you get that freedom to be like, oh, can we try this? Would this be interesting? Can I look at that? And if he likes it, then great, he'll happily be incorporated. But also at the same time, you feel this security and trust in the sense of like, that he's got it and he knows what he needs. So once he's happy, you're like, great, that's it, and you can move on. So I mean, just as a fan of his movies, I'm excited to see this film because I think I would like it, even if I was nothing to do with it. I can just say that I'm excited for it, and I've got to read the script, I've got to be on set and see a small part of the movie. And from everything that I've seen, I'm like, oh, this is a movie that I would love to go to the cinema and see. So hopefully other people do too.
One of the biggest inspirations for this film, especially from a visual perspective, but also tonal perspective, is Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman. So taking the visual language of that graphic novel, but then adding in an element of I guess, realism of, of the handheld camera that I use to kind of keep the characters more grounded and feeling as if it's a part of our real world within this incredibly big and colorful and bright environment. And then also having some of the grit of the 70s movies that I love and that the original Superman was one of. To keep some elements of that, I think it was mostly a combination of those three things. Rachel is a dynamo, and the character is a dynamo. She's incredibly energetic and funny and fast-witted and powerful. And I remember at one time, Rachel turned to me and she said, "I'm scared playing this character." And I was like, "Why?" And she said, "Because I've never played someone ever who is so close to me." And I think that's true. I think Rachel's a lot like Lois. I think it's being able to see all the elements of filmmaking come together in a big spectacle film that is also very personal, and to have a unique experience watching this movie that takes advantage of actual real special effects, of visual effects, of the musical score, which is so enormous and big and pounding, and to really be able to experience something in a way in a theater that you never could if you're just watching it at home. I was very afraid about finding the right Superman, and luckily I saw David reading on the first day, and I was like, holy God, that's amazing. He was reading from a couple of scenes, but one of the main scenes was the scene where he's arguing with Lois about his place in the world. And it wasn't the exact scene. I had rewritten it so that it was just an audition scene, so it didn't give anything away. And anyway, he was great. And I think that, you see him in that scene in the movie and you realize this guy's just a fantastic actor, and he also just happens to look and act and sound a lot like Superman. In this movie, you see Lois is more than a match for Superman, and you see why somebody as cool and as powerful and as good as he is would fall in love with her. She's a complete force to be reckoned with. And she's the one that's uncertain in the relationship, not him. Superman's a lot like David, Not true about Nick. Nick's nothing like Lex Luthor whatsoever. But he's the nicest guy. He's definitely not Lex Luthor. And he works the hardest. He's very hard on himself. He's constantly trying to give me what I want. And I pushed him the hardest. I pushed him by far the hardest of anybody in the movie.
His optimism and his hope is something that will never really go out of style. I think that's why Superman has sort of transcended time, and the message is what never really dies. He has his history, but at the end of the day, he's just like a good man alien who just wants to be mostly man, just like us, and protect us from harm. Like, it's really sweet. He's like an alien who's adopted us. Kendra's got some issues, so she sort of like leads with anger. I think at all times she sort of leads with this sort of like war cry mentality. She lets out a war cry every time she's about to strike. I mean, she's like not even scared to be not even scared enough to be stealthy. Like, she just yells and she's like, "I'm here and I'm everywhere because I can fly really fast and I have a mace that's completely unforgiving. Even if I accidentally swing it your way, you're done." He's the perfect kind of grown up in the sense that like he's able to maintain, his responsibilities and his schedule intact, and also speak to other people with respect, and he just has his together. Sorry for my French, but also at the same time, he hasn't lost any of his childlike wonder or joy or expression and imagination and curiosity. I think he's got a really good balance of that. And for that, I think he's the perfect guy to be working on this. He's also really good at making you feel something instantly towards and for these characters.
Jimmy is a photographer at the Daily Planet. He works closely with Lois Lane, and they have a ton of respect for each other, and I think they take their jobs very seriously. And Jimmy's just kind of a guy. He's just kind of a guy doing his job. He loves journalism. He cares deeply about journalistic integrity, and he's just sort of a guy trying to do his job, really, no matter what else is going on. Pretty early in the script, there's just a 10-page scene that's a conversation between Lois and Clark. And when you're reading a superhero script, I think you're expecting every other page, laser battles and crazy. And this script has all of those things while also kind of balancing. It's just got a lot of heart, and there's such a human element to it. And also the approach James took with Superman as sort of like having an identity crisis, that it's really a movie about, struggling with your sense of self and what makes us who we are. And yeah. And also just across the board on all James movies, there's just so much heart. And that more than anything else, I was really struck by reading this script. James just has that Midas touch, I think. I think that sort of like he gets to the core of what these movies are, which is like everything that you want out of a superhero movie is there. I mean, you have like the just like the epic world building and a real original kind of take on all of that. But then there's also this like whimsical, very heartfelt, like human element to it as a through line through all of it. And there's just a lot of like comedy, and he cares so deeply about the characters. And I think that really comes through in this movie and kind of all his movies, but this one especially, seen as this is sort of like we're originating a lot of characters here and meeting them for the first time. And he kind of navigates all that in a way that I think is unique to him and to the DC world.
She can make herself into anything she can imagine. And not only herself, but she can create, different weapons, complex machinery outside of herself. She can make clones of herself, which is really, really cool. So that's kind of on the outside. And on the inside, I think she's very broken. She has some really rough past that made her believe that the world is completely broken and needs to be fixed no matter the consequences and no matter how many people get hurt and no matter what she has to do. She's gonna work really hard to fix what's broken to make sure that people don't suffer. Lex is my boss. He's the engineer's boss. He is one of the most powerful humans in the planet, and he's brilliant. He's a genius that has a profound love for science and knowledge, and he has the means to create this crazy technology that could potentially help the world. And I think people choose to believe that Lex will move the world forward and help us evolve, but of course, we will find out that he's not really a great person. And so they have a complex relationship because Lex created the engineer. So at this point in her life, she owes her powers to him. James is just such a fun guy, and he knows exactly what he wants. And he's not messing around. He goes straight to the point, and he tells you what he needs and expects you to deliver. He truly hires the best people for the job. And he expects you to bring your A game. So that's very challenging and that's very fun. That's a great leader right there. And I love him. I'm just a big fan. He brings the magic, I think, to his sets. And I talk to everybody that has worked on a James Gunn film set, and they all feel the same way.
Perry White is the editor-in-chief, and actually, for a newspaper man, it's a little scary because, newspapers are kind of going out in this digital world, and especially the world of the movie. So it's to be placed in the middle of the action the way it is, it breathes new life into to Perry White and to the Daily Planet. And we meet him there on the floor in the newsroom with Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and this new reporter, Clark Kent. To be a part of a film this iconic is very special. It's going to be a high water mark in my career. And personally, it was exciting to be on the set as a fan. Perry White is a journalist, a newspaper man, and he's an observer. And actually, that's what I became while we were filming it. Well, it was fun. Listen, Skylar and Rachel and and Christopher and Kat, the little crew of the Daily Planet, we had a blast. And Beck kept us laughing all the time. And so it was fun. And especially when we got to be a part of a little bit of the special effects. That's when it's like being a kid in a candy store, you know. It's really fun to do. It was really fun to watch them put it together. And so that was really cool. You know, James is that person, right? He has really done a deep dive into the world of Superman and all the things that make people a fan, an iconic of this iconic brand, and this iconic figure. And the nuance of what he's going to do with it will bring everybody to the theater and make everyone really happy.
I mean, the summer of Superman, that's just it. I think that there's gonna be a wild ride that people are in store for. There's gonna be just this kind of excitement for, honestly, the beginning of a whole new chapter when it comes to DC. And it's gonna start with a real bang. I mean, I think it's really gonna wow people, and it's really gonna kind of, take people back to the kind of heart of really what it's about. Metamorpho, aka Rex Mason, aka the Element Man, he's a very complicated figure. He's kind of cursed in a certain way with, in the comic books, he's literally cursed. But, he's very uncomfortable with his powers, and his powers being able to metamorphose himself into any substance based on, the periodic table. And he is, a very complicated figure. He doesn't really like the fact that he is a superhero. He doesn't like the fact that he has been gifted these powers, and he sees it as a curse. And so just as an actor, it's a really, fantastic thing to be playing someone that nuanced. James's set is one of the coolest I've ever been on. It strikes this balance of being so huge and so epic and so colorful and having such kind of wonder to it, but it's also so grounded in being a good time. We're all having the best time filming this movie. There's a camaraderie that you really don't get very often, and especially on big things where a lot of that stuff just gets lost in the weeds. James prioritizes it. He makes sure that everyone is tapping into that kind of heart that is in the script, that's in the movie. And you can feel it. You can feel it that everyone is kind of pitching in to bring this wonderful energy. And I sensed it immediately when I was on set. And it makes really difficult scenes quite easy because you just have this immense wave of energy carrying you while you're doing it. It's a character that is kind of possessing godlike powers, and yet he's also quite sensitive and misunderstood and feels quite alienated. So there's an interesting kind of dichotomy there where you have this incredibly powerful being matched with this pathos of pain and difficulty in terms of his experience.
Eve originally came from the Richard Donner movies, so she's not necessarily a comic book character, so there was a lot of freedom to work with Eve. Eve is just like fascinated by everything and everyone around her, and she just loves clothes and taking selfies. I think in the back of her mind, she does start seeing Lex's real side. I think Eve is secretly a genius. James Gunn is amazing. He's so funny, but there's just no one that knows the superhero world more than he does, because he's a true fan. And you can see with the script, like, he just does justice to who Superman is and who all these characters are. And he really knows how to bring, like, the comedy without losing the heart. So, yeah, I mean, the script's amazing. I was a little intimidated, but everyone is just so nice, and everyone just has such a good energy, and everyone is so kind to each other, and I've been learning so much. And James is such an incredible collaborator, and it's just been the greatest experience of my life. I just learned so much from everyone and from him. The other thing is the fact that we have sets like this, and we're not really working just on a blue screen. I mean, especially me, because I have to react to everything with so excitement. I didn't even have to act. I was just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. Yeah, like the sets have been, like, I remember seeing this set for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, it's incredible. It's just been surreal.
This man is an extraordinary person, but he's also got a lot of depth. He lost his wife in an accident, so he's dealing with some emotional issues as well. So he's not perfect. He's a flawed human being. And he's also a human being in a world of gods and monsters. So this character, I think he's a special sauce in the equation of the DCU. The Justice Gang is different because it's a superhero team that's really made up of only 3 individuals. So it's not a big, expansive superhero team. And they're kind of nascent, so they're a little ragtag. They work well together in that their strengths complement each other. You know, Guy Gardner has that ring that he can do anything with, and Hawkgirl can also fly, and she'll kill you. And Mr. Terrific is the brains of the operation. This is probably the best set that I've ever been on. And it's because the magic is James. He not only wrote the material, he knows it intimately, and he's directing this film, but he also does create an environment where there's just total freedom. And freedom can be scary, because if you have all that freedom and you don't have anything to access, then you feel like a failure. But you have James, who together helps you find new things that you couldn't anticipate. He's a magician.
It was a dream come true. I've wanted to make a Superman movie since 1978, when I saw the Dick Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman. I was a teenager in London, saw it in Leicester Square, and I've wanted to make one ever since. And so it was a dream come true to be able to make this movie with the guy that I think is the best superhero filmmaker working today, James Gunn. And the production was spectacular. You know, we really were able to do everything that we wanted to do in order to tell this story in a new way and bring Superman to a brand new generation, to really establish David Cornsweet as this next generation Superman. Cleveland is actually the place where Superman was created. Siegel and Schuster are both native Clevelanders. So the idea that we were shooting in the town in which this character was born was something very poetic about that. The second part is that Cleveland has a lot of those buildings from an era that spoke to us, that were kind of unchanged from those times. And the look of the film that we wanted, that Beth Mickle, our production designer, and James really came up with, there was a lot of that just that organically existed in Cleveland. Just the look of the architecture felt like it was the right fit for us. And then the third part is Cleveland couldn't wait to get us there. They were so thrilled to have us, and you kind of want to be where you're wanted. And just the time that we spent shooting there, the locals couldn't have been more welcoming, couldn't have been more excited that we were there to make a film about their hometown hero. So it was a great call to be there. Just look at the guy. I mean, he looks like Superman. He's 6'4". He's got that great dark hair. He's got those blue eyes. He's as American as they come. He lives outside of Philadelphia. He's married to a woman that he knew in high school. He's the all-American. And it's been a minute since there's been that kind of all-American Superman. But what he really brings to the table is a sense of goodness. He's a family man. He's a sweetheart. He looks after the cast and crew. He's got all the essential goodness that you want Clark Kent and Superman to have. And, we saw his audition tape. It might have been the very first day we started seeing tapes, certainly the first week. But once we saw him, we were like, we think we can make this movie. I think that Nick really creates the greatest embodiment of Lex Luthor that we've ever seen. And as much as I love other ones that have been, Gene Hackman was phenomenal, and Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville was fantastic. But we've never seen one as complete as this, as complete a performance. For me, in many ways, he's Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, in the sense that what he thinks he's doing is for the good of the public. Like, he really is a believer in what he's doing. He's not just a guy with a plan to make more money for himself or, get more power. It is truly about, in his opinion, saving humanity. And so even though the methodology he's selected might be a little bit off base, you'll watch the movie and part of you is, maybe he knows what he's talking about. But he really does bring an incredible character to life with Lex Luthor. He's one of the great villains, and Nick gives him such layers. This film is very much about love and compassion and the essential goodness of the human spirit. And I think that those are qualities that we do need now more than ever. In a world that is somewhat divided, this is a film for everybody. This is a film that brings everybody together in a great spirit of humanity, in the great spirit of seeing the good in those around you.
The values that Superman embodies and displays in these made-up films are the values that our dad displayed in his own life, before his accident and after. So it was natural, I think, for fans around the world to see him as some sort of real-life superhero in the final years of his life because of the way that he approached his circumstances. Those were superheroic values, in a way. Our dad will always be associated with Superman, but Superman will also always be associated with our dad. He defined the role. That movie defined the genre. So if anyone who's up next wants to take inspiration from our dad and from his best-known film, it's an honor for us, and we wish everyone all the best. I said to David, you don't need my blessing, but you have it. Like, go ahead, do your thing. We root for people, right? We're in the business of building people up and helping people and giving more than we take. So we're thrilled for him. He's a Juilliard-trained actor, which sits well with us as the children of a Juilliard-trained actor who made his name as Superman. We're very happy for everyone who's on this Superman journey.